Hello and welcome to my first Sillyllamaz time travel episode. Yes, it's time to do something new, something I've always wanted to do. Let's turn the clock back, let's revisit the age of great games. A time where it seemed that games really managed to impress us. On this episode of Sillyllamaz time travel, we first dive into a history of one of my favorite games ever. Command & Conquer Red Alert. We review and try to explore what made it great, but be warned, it will be full of rants, profanities, and a tiny bit of sexual frustration regarding the place we are in with the Command & Conquer franchise right now. All is my opinion, so if you are eagerly waiting for Command & Conquer Rivals, and you are looking like Justin Bieber or never had any hair on your ballsack yet, please stop watching this video right now. Red Alert Retaliation comes from the long list of other Westwood Studio games. Established in 1985 and located in Las Vegas, it was founded by two entrepreneurs, Brett Sperry and Louise Castle. They brought light to many innovative and, some can even say, world-changing titles. First Command & Conquer game was released in 1995, followed by Command & Conquer Red Alert in 1996, which actually was a prequel to original CNC. In 1998, Westwood Studios was sadly acquired by Electronic Arts for $122.5 million, which in today's standards seems like a ridiculously small price, considering that the development of bigger AAA titles nowadays cost twice that. EA quickly began development of sequels, and to be honest, the next best title was on its way. Red Alert 2 didn't disappoint at all, on the contrary, it was great. As of 1991, Frank Lepaki had given soundtracks to almost every Westwood game, including Dune and even Lion King. Every track he made portrayed the perfect, soothing atmosphere for every title. Command & Conquer series was no exception. Westwood and Frank were a match made in heaven. Sadly, everything after Red Alert 2 took a turn to worst and EA didn't hold back. None of the original Westwood members were working on the future projects, thus it completely destroyed everything Westwood had built. So now that we know some of the history, let's get into the game itself. Red Alert Retaliation is a sequel for Red Alert released in 1996, which was later called as Red Alert Classic. PC gamers also received two DLCs called Counter-Strike and Aftermath. But as I played on a console, I could only have wet dreams about them. In 1998, Red Alert Retaliation hit the store shelves. It featured 10 times the amount of previous maps for Skirmish and Link games. It was a bundle with all previous DLCs added all in one. It featured several new units like submarines that could shoot buildings and other ground units, and of course mad tanks that could destroy the whole base. New missions and soundtracks were also included. But what is Red Alert in a nutshell? It is a real-time strategy game, fairly new genre at the time. So in Red Alert you had to build and manage your own base. You build barracks to train soldiers. You can build ore refineries to get resources for other buildings like War Factory for tanks. You need to take into consideration that buildings need power and many defense structures like Tesla coils don't work without it, or turrets will be weaker. You may also lose your radar, and when it doesn't work, you are vulnerable for sneak attacks and other diversions. As you progress, you get more powerful units and buildings. And why put emphasis on the base building? Well, because I have not seen any good base building games or RTS games on a console since 1998. Well, Red Alert 3 was, but it was just ridiculous. A major disappointment to the franchise. a retarded version of Red Alert, like Borat's brother Pillow.
My brother Billo have a very funny retardation.
Just put together mishmash, this there, that there. Oh, let's brighten up this shit, and with vibrant colors and boobs. Yeah, that's what the player wants, boobs. Let's put some boobs in there, and the players will not care about this gameplay shit anyways, but boobs! And speaking about the boobs, that might have been the only perk, or a sales argument, to get a newer generation buying the game. So, that game was done as a cinematic, well, as cinematic as possible, filled with A-listers from all over the Hollywood. Boobs! Yeah, a lot of boobs, and Tim Curry.
Excellent work, Commander.
Those really were the only good things I remember from Red Alert 3. So yeah, good cast, boobs. But covering up a pile of shit with a pretty gift wrap, ribbons and some sugar sprinkles will never make the gameplay anywhere near the standard it was before. EA at their best. So almost 20 years of silence regarding good RTS games on a console. And don't give me this bullshit that you can't do RTS on a console cause button layout is so complicated. Give me a break. Red Alert did it wonderfully 20 years ago. Use the same buttons if you are dumb enough to figure out the new things. Gamers are not a bunch of retards, imbeciles. They can learn, and they are willing to learn if something is done, please God. And some might say, well, just play with your PC. Well, I don't like to sit behind my computer and play. For me, it feels like I'm turning into a primate with slouched back and weirdly positioned fingers. I'm sorry, it's not for me. And then some other people say, well, use your controller for your PC. Then what the fuck is the point of playing behind computer then? So, back to the review. Not only can you build a base and play against AI, you also have a campaign mission with uber cool storyline. Oh, and quickly about the skirmish AI, on hard settings they can be, well, difficult, meaning they can beat your ass really good on hard settings, but that happens only when they don't close off their ore miners or other units, meaning that the game gets a bit slow when they try to build their base in a circular fashion and covering all the free ground with buildings, thus closing off the path for their units to be able to attack you. Sometimes they fight amongst each other, so this could have been done a bit differently, like there would have been like a button so they can always attack you, not fight amongst each other. That would have been nice. So the campaign missions take place in a parallel universe at a Trinity site in New Mexico in 1946, as Albert Einstein tries to travel backwards in space-time with his experimental time machine. He finds himself in 1924 Germany and meets young Adolf Hitler. With a firm handshake, Einstein manages to erase Hitler from history, thus Germany will never start the World War II. This alters the future, and Joseph Stalin becomes even more powerful and wants to expand Soviet Empire over the whole Eurasian continent. You can play campaign missions on both sides, Allies and Soviet. Both explicitly deserve their own CD. I will come to that part why both of those CDs are really important. In campaign mode, you control selected few different units and you can only build few different buildings, but as you enter skirmish mode, or even better, a link game, the fun begins! You can choose between several nations, England, Germany, France, Ukraine, USSR. Each of them have their own different perks, like 10% armor, firepower, faster shooting or unit speed, or just cheaper building prices. But on a larger picture, there are two factions, Allied and Soviet. With turrets and Tesla coils you can defend your base. With tanks, transport units and other things you can do countless of strategic combinations to attack your enemy or defend your ore miners. Main resource of the game is ore, and your ore miners will collect it. Sometimes, but sometimes they are stubborn and need some manual manipulation, but nothing too bad. Playing skirmish against AI is fun, but They are sometimes mostly stupid and predictable, so amp up the difficulty. Now coming back to 2 discs, 2 CDs. Link game. Link game requires 2 consoles, a link cable, and both CDs. And also 2 TVs as well. Now you can play against your friend. And to see his reaction and facial impressions when my plan goes accordingly. Or vice versa, when he sees you cry and shitting your pants while his tanks kill off your units and destroy your base. There were countless of times when my angry friends started to throw things at me because I was being an obnoxious dick, laughing at him while I was destroying his base. Many nights went into those battles, and to be honest, those were the funnest gaming times in my life. Now, what I love about RTS games is that there is no time to scratch your balls when the shit hits the fan. If you want to play turn-based games, well, you can just play chess, or those pieces of shit that have been released for past decade. In RTS games, you must always be ready. If you are attacked, you must be prepared to move your units, or you have to take into consideration that this might be a diversion. Hell, it might be a cleverly constructed plan to make you move your units. Every step must be thought through, and the most important, you must expand your territory at all costs, building closer and closer to resource fields and constantly keep building units. And never, and I mean never, must you stop building units. This, on the other hand, creates a conflict with other players who are trying to do the same, so the war is inevitable. And all those different elements and different strategies make this game the most funnest experience to be had, not considering what 500 euros buys you in a whorehouse. So now, in 2018, in the light of new information about upcoming Command & Conquer Rivals game, I feel that the franchise can't sink any lower. It has hit its absolute bottom, and I mean for now, because you never know what those sneaky EA bastards are trying to cook up in their laboratories next. But really guys, it makes my chest hurt, and it gives me a nosebleed just thinking about their endeavors to piss on Command & Conquer's name by releasing a mobile game. It's beyond lazy, and death penalty must be a viable option to punish those who push this as a decent game. And that is the reason why the original Command & Conquer Red Alert Retaliation deserves my 10 out of 10. And may it be a beacon for the future developers. You don't even need to use Red Alert as a name for this game. Just put something different, put like Blue Danger or Yellow Warning. No, the last one sounded like I need a typer. There are people out there who love those games, and what leaves me baffled is that the community is huge. Yet nothing, and I mean
Nothing! You've done nothing! Nothing!
has been done to tap into pleasing those millions of fans. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this review at least. And if you did, well, hit that like, smash that bell, and if you dare, subscribe as well. I'm Sillyllamaz. Thanks for watching. Till next time.
Mission accomplished.